It arrived like a digital slap in the face, cold and impersonal on the glowing screen of my phone. "You're not coming to the wedding." The text from my mother, Eleanor, read, "No greeting, no explanation, and beyond the cur follow-up. Ryan's family doesn't want you there." That was it. After months of being the dutiful son, the reliable older brother, the unpaid, unthanked wedding planner, logistics coordinator, and occasional emergency financier for my younger sister, Sophia's impending nuptials to the financially acceptable Ryan Harrison. This was my reward. An unceremonious digital uninvitation. I read it twice, then a third time letting the icy words sink in. My coffee sat untouched on my desk, growing cold. Outside my apartment window, the Chicago spring day was probably lovely, but all I saw was a dull gray haze descend. I wasn't angry, not yet. Anger requires heat, passion. What I felt was a profound, chilling stillness, like something heavy inside me had finally settled at the bottom of a deep, cold lake. The last fragile thread of hope, the one I hadn't even realized I was still clinging to. The hope that this time, maybe this event, would finally grant me full membership in the family tableau, had just snapped. My thumb hovered over the screen. What do you even say to that? Years of swallowing slights, of rationalizing their behavior, of telling myself I was the stable one, the capable one, who didn't need the same coddling or attention lavished on Sophia. It all condensed into a single bitter realization. "So you chose status over blood," I typed back. No emojis, no question mark. Just a flat statement of fact. I hit send. Then without blinking, I turned to my laptop, logged into the event planning portal for the ludicrously expensive lakeside venue I had found and secured for them, with my credit card for the deposit, naturally, because Mom's was acting weird that day. Navigated to the booking management page, and clicked Cancel Reservation. A small pop-up asked if I was sure, noting the substantial deposit was non-refundable. I clicked Confirm Cancellation, with a grim sense of satisfaction. Let Ryan's status-conscious parents figure that out. I closed the laptop, leaned back in my chair, and stared at the wall. The anger was starting to percolate now, a low, dangerous simmer. They really thought I would just disappear quietly? Smile politely from the sidelines, maybe send a generous gift while they celebrated their perfect union, curated to exclude the inconvenient older brother whose bank account had funded half the affair? They always needed me, until they didn't. That was the unspoken contract in the Rossi family. I was Leo, the reliable one, the graphic designer with the stable income who somehow always ended up covering Sophia's overdue rent, 3 times last year alone, if my meticulously kept spreadsheet was accurate. The one Dad, Robert, called in a panic when he accidentally overinvested his retirement fund and needed an urgent $5,000 loan to avoid penalties. A loan quietly never repaid. The one Mom, Eleanor, expected to handle the $1,800 damage claim after Sophia's bachelorette party, trashed an Airbnb booked on Mom's card because Sophia couldn't possibly be stressed with details before the wedding. I kept records, screenshots of apologetic texts promising repayment, scanned copies of IOUs scribbled on napkins, not initially out of malice, but as a defense mechanism. A way to prove to myself I wasn't imagining the slow, steady drain of my resources, my time, my energy into a family unit that treated me less like a son and brother and more like a convenient interest-free line of credit with occasional handyman duties. It wasn't just the money, though. It was the dismissiveness, the casual disrespect. Dad joking while I was precariously balanced on a ladder fixing his gutters during a thunderstorm. "Should get yourself a job as a house husband, Leo. Clearly your design work isn't keeping you busy enough." The ripple of laughter from Mom and Sophia. When I later told Mom the comment hurt, she waved it away. "Oh, sensitive Leo. Your father's just old school. He doesn't mean anything by it." Old school? This was the same man who refused to speak to me for a week in high school because I dyed a streak of blue in my hair. His old school always seemed to conveniently excuse casual cruelty directed my way. When Sophia got engaged to Ryan Harrison, whose father owned a lucrative chain of car dealerships, the dynamic intensified. Suddenly appearances were paramount. Sophia, who had always relied on me to help navigate everything from college applications to apartment hunting, became distant, influenced by Eleanor's relentless focus on impressing the Harrisons. I found out about the engagement itself via Sophia's gushing Instagram post, flooded with comments from relatives congratulating my parents on securing such a fine match. Still, dutiful Leo played his part. They needed wedding planning help? Of course, reliable Leo stepped in. Venue selection. I researched options, negotiated contracts, fronted the deposit, invitations, and website. My graphic design skills were suddenly in high demand. I created custom designs using my professional software, built a RSVP site on my own hosting account. Catering? I vetted suppliers, attended tastings, usually alone, as Sophia was too busy with dress fittings. Out-of-town guests? I found and booked Airbnbs. Vendor coordination, guest list management, seating charts. Leo handled it. I was the unpaid, unacknowledged wedding planner, logistics manager, and occasional ATM, fueled by that stupid, persistent hope that maybe this contribution, this massive investment of time and money, would finally earn me a permanent seat at the table. The warning signs were there, of course. The way Mrs. Harrison's smile never quite reached her eyes when she spoke to me. The way conversations would abruptly shift when I entered a room where Eleanor and Sophia were conferring with the Harrison parents. The vague excuses Sophia gave when I asked about the budget, about where the catering funds I knew Dad had given them actually went. Mom's handling the main accounts, Leo. Don't worry about it, she'd said breezily. Just make sure the florist invoice gets paid from yours for now, okay? And my own quiet questioning being framed as negativity. Leo, please, don't bring your practical energy into this. Mom had chided when I pointed out the venue's hidden service charges. It's Sophia's special time. We need positivity. Positivity meant keeping my mouth shut and my wallet open. Now, the text message lay bare the final calculation. I wasn't just inconvenient. I was a liability, an embarrassment to be hidden away from the groom's influential family. My energy, perhaps my refusal to play their game, my quiet expectation of basic respect, my mere existence as the less favored child, wasn't welcome in their picture-perfect narrative. So you chose status over blood. The response wasn't just anger, it was a profound, settling clarity. The strings that had bound me to them through guilt, obligation, and that flicker of foolish hope, they weren't just frayed, they were ready to be severed. And they had just handed me the scissors. I opened my laptop again, went to the shared cloud folder meticulously labeled as Sophia and Ryan wedding planning. Contracts, vendor lists, guest database with contact info and RSVPs, timelines, photos, budget spreadsheets, the ones I maintained at least. Design files for invitations, menus, welcome signs, hours upon hours of my work, my expertise, all neatly organized. I selected all 63 files, dragged them to the trash bin, emptied the trash. Then I created a new empty text document within the folder. I titled it, Good Luck Without Me. I didn't need to tell them, they'd find out soon enough. When the florist called demanding payment because the deposit check I was supposed to handle, but never did, waiting for their funds, hadn't cleared. When the photographer emailed asking for the finalized shot list from the deleted file. When the venue coordinator sent a polite but firm email stating the reservation and the non-refundable deposit had been canceled by the primary account holder. Me. Let them scramble. Let them explain. Let them finally feel the consequences of treating me like a disposable utility. This wasn't just about a wedding anymore. This was about years of being sidelined, exploited, and dismissed. This was the final crack. And this time, I wasn't going to try and patch it up. I was going to walk away and let it crumble. After hitting confirm cancellation on the venue booking and watching the digital confirmation appear, a strange calm washed over me. It wasn't peace, not exactly. It was the chilling quiet after a detonation, the moment before the shockwave hits. I had severed the main artery supplying their perfect wedding fantasy. The fallout, I knew, would be swift and loud. I leaned back, the silence in my apartment punctuated only by the hum of the refrigerator. I didn't have to wait long. My phone, previously dormant, lit up like a panicked Christmas tree. Mom, then Dad, then Sophia. Missed call notifications piled up. Then came the texts. A frantic barrage of question marks, accusations, and demands. Mom, Eleanor. Leo, what did you do? The venue just called Sophia. Answer your phone right now. Dad, Robert. Leo, son, call your mother. There seems to be a misunderstanding about the Lakeside Lodge booking. Fix this. Sophia. Elio, WTF is wrong with you? Are you trying to ruin my wedding? Call me! Mom, Eleanor. If this is about that petty text message, you're being incredibly childish and selfish. Think about your sister. Dad, Robert. This is about respecting the Harrisons, Leo. Whatever disagreement you have, handle it after the wedding. Reinstate the booking. Sophia. Ryan is freaking out. His parents are going to kill me. You did this out of jealousy, didn't you? You always hated him. I read them all with a detached sort of fascination, like watching ants scramble after their hill has been kicked over. Jealousy, ruining her wedding, they still didn't get it. They still thought this was about them, about their plans, their social standing. They couldn't fathom that their reliable, invisible son and brother had finally, irrevocably, cut the strings they'd used to manipulate him for years. I silenced the notifications, leaving the phone face down on the table. Their panic wasn't my problem anymore. I spent the rest of the day methodically cleaning up the digital debris of their wedding. The shared cloud folder, wiped clean. The custom website I built on my personal hosting account, taken offline, domain redirected to a blank page. The digital invitation and files, the seating chart drafts, the vendor contact spreadsheet I'd meticulously maintained, deleted, permanently. It felt strangely cathartic, like clearing out years of accumulated clutter. By evening, the frantic calls had subsided, likely replaced by panicked family conferences I was pointedly excluded from. Good. Let them figure it out. Let them call the florist whose invoice they were supposed to pay. Let them explain to the photographer why the shot list suddenly vanished. Let them scramble. Just as I was contemplating ordering pizza and indulging in a night of truly disconnecting, a notification popped up on my laptop. Not a text, but an encrypted message via a secure messaging app I rarely used, mostly for sensitive client work back when I still bothered freelancing alongside my stable design job. The sender ID was unfamiliar, just a string of numbers. Curiosity piqued, I opened it. Leo, the message began. You don't know me well. We worked briefly together at that disastrous startup 2 years ago. Call me Sarah. Heard through the grapevine about the Rossi Harrison wedding drama. Thought you might deserve to see the whole picture. Check your secure email. My heart gave a strange lurch. Sarah? I vaguely remembered a sharp, swiat coder from that chaotic project. How did she know? Before I could dwell on it, I checked the encrypted email account linked to the app. There was one new message. Subject for your eyes only. Attached were several files, image attachments, and audio clips. My hands felt cold as I clicked open the first image. It was a screenshot of a group chat. Participants, Sophia, 2 names I recognized as her main bridesmaids, and someone listed as future Mrs. H. Prime. The date was from 3 weeks ago. Bridesmaid 1. Ugh, Leo is being so annoying about the budget again. Does he have to track every penny? Sophia. Tell me about it. He acts like it's his money. Lowell. Mom just transfers it from Dad's account to his account so he can pay directly. Easier that way, less questions. We'll get him to cover the cake too. Just gotta lay on the only brother helping his little sis guilt trip. Works every time. Future Mrs. H, presumably Sophia again. Seriously, he's the family's free wedding planner plus ATM. My stomach churned. So that's how the finances worked. Not just my time and effort, but indirectly my father funneling money through my accounts to pay for things, making it seem like I was the one controlling the purse strings while they played dumb. The deception ran deeper than I thought. I clicked the next file. An audio clip. Sophia's voice, unmistakable, tinged with laughter and malice. And Ryan honestly can't stand him. He told me Leo gives him the creeps, always asking intense questions, too serious. Ryan's dad apparently feels the same way. So yeah, Mom sending that text was perfect, and blame the Harrisons, he won't argue with that. A pause, more laughter. Honestly, he probably won't even be at the wedding itself. I'll make sure of it, just watch. The coldness I had felt earlier intensified, hardening into something sharp and brittle inside my chest. It wasn't just neglect or dismissal anymore. It was active plotting. Malice. They hadn't just uninvited me, they had planned to sabotage my presence from the start, using Ryan's family as a convenient excuse while mocking me behind my back. The text from my mother wasn't a reluctant concession to the Harrisons. It was step 1 in Sophia and Eleanor's plan to ensure I was erased from their perfect picture. Any lingering shred of doubt, any whisper of guilt about my own actions evaporated. This wasn't just about status versus blood anymore. This was about calculated cruelty. I downloaded the audio files and screenshots, saving them securely. Then I messaged Sarah back. Thank you, more than you know. Why? Her reply came quickly. Worked with your dad briefly consulting last year. Saw how Eleanor runs things. Nobody deserves that. Consider it professional courtesy. Good luck. I didn't need luck anymore. I had proof. And I had a plan. The rehearsal dinner was tomorrow night at that pretentious vineyard Sophia insisted on, the one with the rustic luxury vibe and the offensively priced wine list. They thought I wouldn't show my face after the text, after their accusations. They expected me to retreat, wounded and silent, just like I always had. They were wrong. I spent the next hour preparing. Charged the small, powerful Bluetooth speaker I use for presentations, loaded the audio clips onto a dedicated flash drive and triple-checked them, printed out crisp copies of the WhatsApp screenshots. My movements were calm, methodical. The earlier simmering rage had cooled into a focused, diamond-hard resolve. I wasn't going there to argue or plead or demand apologies. Apologies were meaningless now. I was going there to present the evidence, to detonate the truth in the middle of their carefully constructed facade, and then walk away from the blast radius. They wanted me out of the picture? Fine, but I wouldn't disappear quietly into the night. I would turn on all the lights first, exposing every ugly detail for everyone, especially Ryan, to see. The rehearsal dinner wouldn't be a celebration. It would be a reckoning. And I, the invisible son, the convenient ATM, the embarrassing brother, would be the one holding the final invoice. The vineyard chosen for the rehearsal dinner was exactly as pretentious as I'd expected. 30 minutes outside Chicago, it boasted imported Italian cypress trees that looked suspiciously stressed by the Illinois climate, rough-hewn wooden tables artfully distressed to mimic age, and strategically placed barrels that probably held nothing more intoxicating than rainwater. They called it rustic luxury. I called it a triumph of marketing over substance, much like the family gathering I was about to crash. I showed up dressed simply, dark slacks, a crisp button-down shirt, no tie, calm, focused. In my messenger bag, nestled beside my tablet, was the compact Bluetooth speaker and the flash drive containing the audio clips. Evidence. I wasn't here to make a scene in the traditional sense. No shouting, no accusations hurled across the room initially. My plan was quieter, more surgical, more devastating. I walked into the private dining room, a space heavy with the scent of expensive floral arrangements and simmering resentment, at least on my part. Heads turned, conversations faltered. I saw the shock ripple through my family members gathered near the head table. Sophia's eyes widened in disbelief. Mom, Eleanor, shot a venomous glare. Dad, Robert, looked profoundly uncomfortable, shifting his weight. Ryan, the groom-to-be standing beside Sophia, looked confused, then annoyed, likely fed whatever narrative Sophia had concocted about my jealous outburst. His parents, the Harrisons, regarded me with cool, polite curiosity, probably wondering who the underdressed, uninvited guest was. Good. Let them wonder. I ignored the whispers, the pointed stares. I walked calmly towards the head table, stopping near the spot reserved for toasts. My father started to rise, perhaps to intercept me, but I held up a hand, a small dismissive gesture that somehow made him sink back into his seat. "Sorry to interrupt," I said, my voice carrying clearly in the sudden hush. "But before the official toasts begin, I believe there's a small piece of audio entertainment the bride-to-be, in particular, might appreciate." A confused murmur went through the room. Sophia's face paled several shades. Eleanor looked like she wanted to vaporize me on the spot. I placed the small speaker on the table, connected my phone via Bluetooth, selected the first file. "This first clip," I announced calmly, looking directly at Sophia, "seems to be from a planning session regarding cake financing." I hit play. Sophia's voice, bright and laced with familiar mockery, filled the room. "We'll get Leo to pay for the cake, too. Just gotta lay on the only brother helping his little sis guilt trip. Works every time. He's the family's free wedding planner plus ATM." A collective gasp went through the guests who weren't family. Sophia looked horrified, shaking her head mutely. Ryan stared at her, his expression shifting from confusion to dawning suspicion. "And this one," I continued smoothly, selecting the next file, "appears to be a candid assessment of the groom's feelings towards his future brother-in-law." I hit play again, Sophia's voice again laughing this time. "And Ryan honestly can't stand him. He told me Leo gives him the creeps, always asking intense questions, too serious. Ryan's dad apparently feels the same way. So, yeah, Mom sending that text was perfect. Blame the Harrisons. He won't argue with that." Ryan visibly recoiled, turning to look at Sophia with outright disbelief. His parents, the Harrisons, exchanged sharp, unhappy glances. "And finally," I said, cuing the last clip, my voice dropping slightly, a confirmation of the bride's true intentions regarding my attendance. I played the final audio, Sophia's voice low and smug. "Honestly, he probably won't even be at the wedding itself. I'll make sure of it. Just watch." I hit pause. The silence in the room was absolute, thick with shock and betrayal. Sophia looked like she was about to faint. Eleanor was rigid with fury, her knuckles white where she gripped her wine glass. Dad stared at his plate. "So," I said quietly, scanning the stunned faces. "It seems the Harrisons' discomfort was merely a convenient excuse. The plan all along, orchestrated by my sister and condoned by my mother, was to use me for everything I could provide, financially, logistically, and then discard me before the final photographs." I pulled a folder from my bag. "For those interested in the financial contributions of the creepy, unwanted brother," I said, my voice hardening, "I prepared a summary. Over $11,000 covering the non-refundable venue deposit I personally paid and just canceled. Website development, invitation design, catering down payments, guest accommodations." I didn't distribute it widely. I simply walked over and placed a copy directly in front of Ryan. "You might find this illuminating," I told him quietly. "This is outrageous!" Eleanor finally found her voice, standing up abruptly. "This is slander. Those recordings could be fake." "Actually," a calm female voice interjected from near the back of the room. A woman I recognized, Sarah, my former colleague, dressed professionally, stepped forward. "They're not?" She held up her phone, displaying what looked like a forensic software analysis. "I run a digital forensics agency now. Leo asked me to verify the source files retrieved from a standard cloud backup linked to Ms. Rossi's account. The audio clips are authentic, unedited, metadata consistent with the dates of the conversation logs I also recovered. No deep fakes, no splices, just unfortunate truths." She looked pointedly at Sophia and Eleanor. The room erupted into hushed, frantic whispers. Ryan stared down at the financial summary, then up at Sophia, his face a mask of cold fury and dawning realization. "You lied to me," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "About everything, about Leo, about the money, about why he wasn't wanted here." "Ryan, no, listen, I can explain," Sophia pleaded, reaching for his arm. He pulled away sharply. "Don't touch me!" He looked around the room at his parents' mortified faces and my parents' crumbling facade and my own impassive expression. Then he made his decision. He stood tall, his voice ringing out clearly. "This wedding? It's off. I'm done." Sophia let out a shrill, sharp scream of denial, lunging towards him, but he stepped back. Eleanor started yelling incoherent threats directed at me. Dad tried to intervene, appealing for calm. Chaos descended upon the rustic luxury setting, and through it all I just stood there for a moment, watching the carefully constructed world they had built on deceit and exploitations implode. Then quietly, I turned and walked towards the exit. "Where do you think you're going?" my father hissed as I passed him. "Somewhere you can't reach me," I replied without looking back. I walked out of the vineyard, leaving the wreckage behind me. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vengeful. I just felt empty. And finally, irrevocably, free. I didn't go back to my apartment. I didn't drive towards any place they knew. I drove north for hours, ending up in a tiny, forgotten town nestled in the foothills, a place where cell signal was a rumor, and anonymity was the local currency. I moved into the small cottage I had preemptively leased a month earlier, using cash in a P.O. box. The first few weeks were silent. I changed my number, deleted old email accounts, scrubbed my minimal social media presence. I let the frantic calls from blocked numbers ping unanswered into the void. I didn't need to hear their apologies, their accusations, or their demands. I sat on the porch, drank black coffee, and listened to the wind in the pines. I started the archival preservation course online, volunteered at the tiny county museum, organizing boxes of brittle photographs and forgotten letters. I found solace in the quiet dignity of the past, in stories that didn't require performance or manipulation. News trickled through eventually, via a cautious email from my friend Elliot relaying third-hand information. The wedding was definitively off. Ryan Harrison had walked away completely. Sophia was apparently staying with friends, estranged from both Ryan and, surprisingly, her mother, and my father. His attempt to sell remained under a piece of jointly owned family property. A backup plan, perhaps after my funds were cut off, had indeed collapsed. Apparently after he'd tried to remortgage it behind my back years ago, I had placed a legal hold on the deed, requiring my signature for any sale, a protective measure I had almost forgotten about. His desperate attempt triggered the hold, the deal fell through, and the questions were apparently being asked about potential fraud. Consequences, not delivered by me, but harvested from seeds they themselves had sown long ago. I felt nothing hearing it. No satisfaction, no pity, just distance. Their chaos couldn't touch me here. One morning, checking the secure digital mailbox I'd set up, I saw a single forwarded email from an old, nearly defunct account I hadn't quite deleted. Subject, please just talk to us. I deleted it without opening. They still didn't understand. Their power lay in engagement, in reaction, in the belief that I still cared enough to fight or forgive. My power, I finally realized, lay in silence, in absence, in becoming completely, utterly irrelevant to their drama. My new mailbox, the physical one at the end of the dirt road leading to my cottage, is simple, metal, secure. The postman asked what name I wanted on it. I told him, no name. Just a message. Engraved on the small brass plate below the keyhole it reads, Return to sender. No apologies accepted. The silence here isn't empty. It's full of peace, full of possibility, full of a future finally written by me, for me.